Now that our retaining wall and the site prep is done, or substantially done, we can finally start talking about the house itself. Now don't forget, and please understand, that Nate and I have been talking about this house, the plans and design and features, a lot for months. Really since the moment we even talked about this concept. Anytime we talked about the house or looked at or imagined or talked about plans, we sort of had to have a big fat asterisk right next to the sentence because we just didn't know how large our buildable space was going to be. Our property is plenty large enough, well over 10,000 square feet, but the portion that is the house pad is quite small. Most of it marches up the hill to the west of the building site. We aren't worried about this from a sales or livability aspect. The space in front of the house, between the house and the street, and just behind the west retaining wall will be landscaped and will look and feel like yard space. The space up the hill behind the retaining wall is accessible and usable for kids to play on, for gardens or fruit trees, for a deck, or for who knows what. Lots of space, except the footprint of the house on the house pad itself is going to be tight. Now that the retaining wall is finally done, we can measure to see just how big our footprint actually is and exactly what size house we can put on it. Now, I did do a couple of preliminary versions of this myself. I just didn't want to rely on it completely. I just used concrete stakes, tape measure, string lines, cans of paint, and I got what I think is a pretty faithful version of the space that we have to work with. So since we have to utilize every single available square foot, I've brought Carl Sweden in. He's my surveyor. He's a great guy. You've met him in earlier episodes of our house build series, and he's going to give us a plan. He's going to provide a survey that will generate a site plan that we can really rely on when deciding on the house plan. We'll give it to our draftsman. We will cite the plan on the site map, and we'll know exactly how to lay it out when it's time to start digging for the foundation. Now, if you've watched this series from the beginning, you already know and understand what a surveyor does, what he can do, and you've seen the surveys that Carl has done on this property before. This little survey is not really any different. Here's the plan that Carl generated. You can see the retaining wall, the shorter retaining wall on the uphill side. It's 5 feet tall. It has a stairway blocked out for access to the top part of the property. That was kind of a guess on my part, estimating where the garage would be and where a good spot would be to access the balance of the property. So that's where it is. We're committed now. Over on this side, the rockery starts and the big retaining wall that you watched us work on for days and days and weeks, it seemed like. And then as we come around to the street side and wander back up towards the uphill side of the lot, we come to the driveway. The driveway is located by the property developer. The guy that built these pads committed us to the driveway location, and he got it exactly right. In general, you do not want your driveway to be steep, and you don't want it to be long. You don't want to tie up a bunch of your space with asphalt or concrete and parking, so you minimize the length, you minimize the grade, and you hope that it fits the house that goes on the lot. In our case, we're going to have to orient the garage exactly right to be able to make this sort of a gentle corner, because this is the narrowest part of our lot, and the garage has to be situated between the retaining wall on the back and the setback in the front. For us, the size of this house was important. Heck, it's important to everybody that ever builds a house. But we decided that 2,500 square feet was our minimum size. We determined that by sort of canvassing the size of the houses in the neighborhood and wanting to hit right in the middle. We didn't want to build the biggest house, we didn't want to build the smallest one, and so 2,500 square feet is the right size for this neighborhood. And it will get us the sales price we're hoping that we need to get in order to walk away from this deal in good shape, or at least surviving the process. In order to get this 2,500 square feet, we're just going to have to go 2-story. Now, we didn't originally want to do that. We were talking in terms of a house that a retired couple could stay in and age in place, something with everything on one level, but couldn't do it. 2-story is the only way. But that's not all bad. In fact, it's actually a positive because of the view. We've got a pretty nice view looking out of the south side of this property, where the lot is the widest. So we should be able to capitalize on that with the living room and probably the master bedroom upstairs, if possible. Now, we've got a video on design and all the things to consider and factor in. You may have watched it. I recommend you watch it because that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about for the next couple of videos. And as we begin to actually put our house on this site, those design details that we talked about months ago will begin to present themselves as being really important. For us, selling this house is going to be the critical pass. It's important that we try to anticipate as much as we can the needs of every possible buyer in order to maximize the pool of people that would be interested in it. We also want a house that will allow us to showcase as many techniques and materials and processes as possible. We're well underway. Thanks for watching.